Aloha and welcome to the Guardian Alliance. It is an honor and pleasure to welcome you here with us today. Opening these doors has been a very, very long journey. For over 10 years, this vision has been gestating within me and within perhaps many of you who are here joining us today. And I am so pleased to finally be birthing this experience with you here and now. The birthing process has been at times a little bit painful, a little bit challenging and difficult, but that's the beauty of life, is that sometimes, you know, when you have a big vision and you have a big intention and a big project that you want to get out and you want to get on the ground, it really tests you. You know, it really pushes you to the limits. It forces you to really reflect on what's important, and it asks you the question: how dedicated are you to this? How dedicated are you to stepping up, to showing up, and to making this thing happen that you're dreaming about? And that's how you can make your dreams come true. So this, for me right now, today, is a celebration. This is a dream come true. And I welcome you here to celebrate today with me. Joining me today, we have Alexander Fairman. And just briefly, I'll say about Alex. When I met Alex, I had the feeling that I had suddenly stepped through a portal in time, or he had, and this gentleman who walked up to me had literally stepped right out of the Middle Ages as a Knights Templar, and the way he held himself, the way he looked at me, the way he spoke, immediately I felt like I was in the presence of a knight, and I knew right then that we were going to be friends again. So welcome, Alex. Would you like to say a few words and greet everyone, share a little about yourself?
Well, hello everyone. That just lit me up, you saying that, because I am that, and I'm glad to be back here with all of you, maybe again, and opening Guardian Alliance. Yeah, it's been a process, it's been a journey, and you know, many of us have had these visions of what we wanted to create on this world and what we wanted to birth in terms of new systems of education or businesses or relationships. I mean, obviously we all know we have a little bit of work to do in terms of bringing this place to be the heaven that our hearts know is possible. So I'm just really excited to have completed this next leg of the journey, and now the real fun begins, because we get to open up what we've been doing to so many of you out there who I think will benefit from it, who will inspire us to go even further, and maybe who will join us in time too. So yeah, let's get started.
Great. Thank you so much, Alex. So I will just set some space here and talk a little bit about the format of the call, and a little bit about what you can expect from us here today. So first of all, we're going to just talk a little bit about what the Guardian Alliance is and what it's all about. A lot of you perhaps have been familiar with my work over the past 10, 15 years, and the Jedi training intensives and talks and things like that I've done around the world. But the Guardian Alliance is something bigger and deeper than that. It's not just a reflection of more Jedi training and more skill development. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. And then we're going to introduce you to this idea of the archetypes and the way that we work with the archetypes in the Guardian Alliance as a formula for self-reflection and empowerment. And Alex and I are going to each share a technique with you later in the call. So we'll be each sharing some insights, philosophies, techniques that have really empowered us in our personal journey of purpose, because that's one of the main things that this is all about. And then finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about the initiation course that's opening up today, and what to expect from that, and also give you a few more details about the online academy itself, so that you can engage, so you can participate, come on board with us as we go on this journey. So before I dive into any of that, I just want to ask Alex, if there's anything else that you would like to share, just as an introduction to kind of who you are and what brought you here now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so just a little background on who I am and how I got here. Um, my story was, I'll just the short of it is, from when I was a young boy, I knew I wanted to change the world and wasn't sure how to do that. And there has been, I've gone on a journey like many of us have of trying to find our purpose. I went to studied at USC. I've worked in a whole bunch of different industries. I most recently was the director for curriculum innovation at the Joint Educational Project, so I became very interested in education because I saw education as something we needed to transform that would facilitate every other transformation on the planet, because you have to start with education. So after working for a big university and launching some programs with them, I wanted to do something that was even more free of the institutional control, and where I could fully apply all the spiritual information, all of the teaching strategies that simply don't exist in these big, old, archaic structures. And so the Guardian Alliance is one such example as that, where we're taking everything that we've learned from different forms of personal development, to information on the chakras, to insights from experts and some of our favorite thought leaders, and we're basically distilling it all into this more evolved education system that will help people to develop, especially those who don't thrive in the traditional test-taking structure where you just read a book and then regurgitate the information, but who actually want to apply and develop these archetypes and these abilities which are useful in every aspect of their everyday life. So my journey was basically, being a part of the system, learning how it works, learning how it operates, and now we can take what I've learned from that and birth now a much more open paradigm of education that can bring people into their full potential.
Exactly, and that's really speaking to the heart of what the Guardian Alliance is all about. So thank you, Alex. For me, the first piece of really getting a picture of what this is all about is about understanding what guardianship is to me. The word guardianship gets thrown around a lot, and we have some kind of innate definitions that we understand with it. When we look out into the world, we see that there are certain guardians that are basically caretakers of youth or kids. Often, if it's not a parent, they say, well, you have to get a signature from your parent or guardian, and the context of someone who watches over someone else, especially a younger person or somebody who's still waking up or opening up, is a really important definition of guardianship to hold as we go forward into this project. Other aspects of what we know of guardians is, there's guardians at the gates that protect sacred objects and temples. There's the guardians that might play on a sports team or might be part of a military group that holds the field, that watches your back, that's paying attention to what's going on in the greater field around, and responding in a way that addresses the needs of the collective that they are guarding. And so what the Guardian Alliance is it's a fusion of these energies coming together. It's about an awareness that we in ourselves each have the capacity to master ourselves and to find the deepest gifts that are inside of us. And if we can find those deepest gifts, the things that we're really here to share, that we're here to create, to change the world, then suddenly as those things begin to flow from us, we begin changing the lives of the people around us. And one of the things that I realized early on, and that we'll cover more in the course, is that when there are things that you are trying to create for yourself and the world, and interactions and experiences in your relationships that you're trying to create more of, one of the best ways to bring those things into your life that you're trying to access is to practice giving those things to other people. If you want more money, give away money. If you want to be given money, if you want more, whatever you want, more use of a car, well, share a car. If you want more happiness and joy in your life, or you want other people to be nicer to you, be nicer to them. And when you understand that what happens to us in our lives is part of a feedback loop. For those of you that are joining from the Resonance Academy, one of the major principles that we explored in the Delegate Level 1 program is that the universe is a constant feedback system. You are constantly getting back everything that you give out. And so one of the ways we can translate that into guardianship is that whatever you choose to protect and to make sacred, whatever you choose to caretake and bring forward into this world and take care of, you will receive more of. So if you become a guardian for other people's sacred purpose, then you will find your own sacred purpose will ignite that much more strongly. So this is not just about developing your own skills and your own awareness and your own techniques and abilities to face the world. It's also about learning how to share those gifts that you have that are inside of you with other people. And that in turn will empower you back. It's about developing mastery. So that's a little bit of what this is all about. And as you get into the course, the initiation course, which will open up right at the end of this call, and there will be a new link that shows up in your menu for that, we'll explore that in a lot more depth, and you can come to understand that more. So I'd also like to share a little bit with you about the archetypes and some of perhaps my and Alex's personal journeys involving these archetypes. What I found is that in my life there were different phases where I had to practice and develop certain abilities because of the conditions that life was bringing me in certain periods of time. For example, when I was a teenager, one of my earliest archetypal path awakenings was as a wizard, because I started to discover the physics of space-time, and I realized that everything was energy, and then I realized that consciousness actually interacts with energy, and that through changing my consciousness I can change energy. And I can change the field around me. I can change the vibe. I can actually create fields of energy that move and interact with my consciousness. Now that might sound far-fetched, but at the end of this call we're going to do a technique, or a little bit later in this call I'm going to do a technique with you guys so you can really tangibly feel what I'm talking about, and I'll show you the way that I really got in touch with this in the first place. But when I started really searching for like, who knows this and where did this come from, and how come this isn't being taught in school, I started to come across many different ancient traditions and cultures who had cultivated magical practices. Now I use the word magical because that's actually the terminology of communicating with space-time that a lot of these ancient cultures used and developed. And so I became fascinated with magic and the physics of magic. And as I did that, I realized I was developing this part of myself that modern society has told me is a fantasy character that I would find in movies or books. But inside of me was this magic, this creative power, this ability to change my reality. And it's not a fantasy, it's part of who I am. Alex, would you like to share any of your experiences with developing archetypes early on?
Yeah, so the archetypes is, let's say there's different aspects to each one of us as human beings, right? Ranging from the most grounded, practical aspect of us, which we're calling the warrior, which is basically your roots, your foundation, your physical body, right? And so people who are very cued into this are athletes, our soldiers, our people who engage with the physical world in a very tangible, hands-on way. And when one of these people walks in a room, there's an energy of that rooted element to them that you can all feel. The eyes go, and you look at that person, and you feel their presence, right? And it goes on up from there. Then we have the second archetype is the weaver, which is all about the social mastery, emotional mastery. These are the people who know everybody, who talk to everybody, who seem to have no problems connecting to all kinds of different people. And then on and so forth. And then, Adam, you just mentioned the wizard was one of the first archetypes that really unlocked. So each one of us has these archetypes in our lives, and they're each developed at different periods of time based on our environment and who we are and what we're naturally gifted at. So for me personally, one of the first things I also developed definitely was the wizard, and learning how my mind and how using my mind I could lay these plans, I could create imaginations, and then I could start to manifest them. And it started when I was on the playground at school. I actually would get groups of kids together, and we would go into these fantasy worlds, but I was so sure and so certain that every other kid just looked at me and was like, yeah, that's the game we're going to play, and that's what we did. But I think another thing we're talking about is that there are certain archetypes that each of us have that are weak when we start out, and they have to be developed, right? So for example, a lot of us, let's say communication or the ambassador is one of the other archetypes, and is all about how well you can communicate with others and share your story and your feelings with the world. Now, it doesn't automatically happen that you're going to be a great communicator and presenter. It takes conscious repetition. It takes conscious exposure. So you put yourself in situations where you have to communicate again and again and again and again. And over time, with strategies like some that we're going to show you and others that are going to just naturally unlock, you're going to find that power will be developed in you. That archetype will be developed in you. So in the intro course, we're going to talk about the different archetypes. And, Adam, I just want to say one more thing. You said that, people felt, or you felt like the world would sort of, the world doesn't really believe in magic, even though we're finally scientifically able to explain these things. But the important thing to remember is that this is going on throughout all of society. In fact, it underpins mastery in every aspect of society. When CEOs or business leaders are leading organizations, their abilities are from the same extensions of these archetypes that we're talking about. They're tapped into that command wizardry when they're organizing their companies, right? When people are out there doing great healing work as doctors, they're tapped into the healer archetype from their hearts. Yes, it's supplemented by their technical knowledge, but you have to see that these archetypes are playing out everywhere in society. So what we're doing is we're bringing it to consciousness and saying, this is what's going on. These are the abilities that will allow you to do these, to master different aspects of your life, and we're going to be giving you different tools and knowledge and skills to do so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And thank you so much for stepping back and giving a little bit of the bigger picture, Alex, because the truth is that we are all types of archetypes. And the more that we get to know, the more we get to know each aspect of ourselves, the more we can actually interact with and engage with those aspects in other people and out in the world. And so this is not just about, again, developing yourself and developing skills in yourself. It's also developing the capacity to relate to the world, the capacity to meet people where they're at, whoever they are. One of the principles in Jedi training that I used to share a lot in my courses is the principle of reciprocity, and about understanding how it is that you can come to people that may be in a state of intense conflict and actually engage them in such a way that immediately begins to de-escalate the conflict and allows you to get on the side of both people that are in the conflict in such a way that you can actually have them feel like you're on both of their sides. And to do that, you actually have to create this energy of reciprocity, this energy of feedback with those people. And you can't create that feedback loop if you can't see where somebody's coming from. If you can't understand the role that they're playing in the conflict and the space that they're holding, then it's pretty difficult for you to help them feel like you actually understand what their plight is and what they're going through. This is something that I think we face a lot in first world societies and modern society is, we have these, government programs that go out to change the world and go out to do things in different countries. But oftentimes we're giving resources and we're giving support and aid that isn't actually what the local people need, because there hasn't been enough actual cultural awareness development in the people bringing the aid at times in order for those people that are bringing assistance to actually meet people and support them in what they need. My friend Allison Fast, who I helped to organize the prayer runs for world peace with back in 2005 and 2006, she has a company, an organization that works with the State Department and works with some other organizations. And what they do is they go into places like the Horn of Africa and certain areas where there's a lot of intense poverty and health issues, and they bring cameras and they give cameras to usually kids in families, and they tell them, hey, just record your life, just show us from your perspective what your life is like. And so these kids go and they capture all this media from their lives, and take in all the things that are going on for them in their lives, and then they watch the videos together. And so the different people that are there to support them and give them aid get a really clear picture of what's going on from their perspective in their society and in their life, and then they can provide appropriate support. So the principle of reciprocity is very important on all levels, and getting connected with each layer of your being and each aspect of your being is about developing reciprocity with aspects of yourself. What are your innate gifts? How do you start there? What are your innate challenges? How can you accept those? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your good aspects? And what are your shadows? And can you accept those shadowy places inside of you, the places that hurt, the places that are afraid of not being accepted, the places that are afraid of being judged? That what you're doing is somehow wrong or not good enough. Can you accept that? And can you welcome those parts of yourself to the table as well and say, you know what, it's okay. It's okay for you to sit here. It's okay for you to come into this circle, because everybody at this circle is welcome, and everybody's perspective here is welcome. And that's what is most important, that every part of yourself and every part of everybody else gets welcomed to this table. And that's what the Guardian Alliance is all about. It's about standing for the principle that everyone has an innate truth, that everyone has an innate gift, and to accept that. And sometimes it's real hard. It's real hard when we are struggling, when we're fighting, when we're facing off with somebody and we feel like they don't understand us. They won't see us. They can't look at us. They can't get what's going on inside of us. They're not getting the pain that we're feeling, right? Or how they hurt us. Well, that's the time when it's most important to recognize that they have a truth of their own. They have a perspective, and it's okay. It's all right. It doesn't have to be the right one. It's just theirs. It might be totally wrong. They might be completely crazy. But can you accept them? Can you accept that that is where they're at right now? Can you accept that when you realize that you are wrong and that it's your chance right now to face yourself, to face your own shadow, to admit that you're wrong, and it's okay.
And if I may, just to say a little more about the shadow, that the essence of that has to do with also where you're not developed, or what archetypes you may not yet be in touch with, and that's the ones that are hardest to recognize. Let me just give a practical example.
Thank you.
So, for example, someone who's a strong warrior walks in the room, and let's say that you're not. And I'm using this example because this was me, right? I was that young, scrawny kid in junior high who was intimidated by a lot of the older alpha male jock archetypes in my class, right? So I judged them because that was the part of myself I hadn't developed, right? I didn't understand how that even felt to be grounded and powerful. I didn't understand how it felt to be athletic and know that if you got into a fight, you'd be able to handle your situation. So for me personally, it was the journey of developing that side of myself, of going to the gym and learning about my physical body and learning martial arts, that then transformed how I saw that situation. And now when I run into people who are that dominant warrior type of personality, I don't judge them. I just immediately connect to them, resonate. I connect to their strength. And we, whether it's just through a handshake, a hard handshake, or a good look in the eyes, letting you both know we are not afraid, which is one of the warrior mantras, fear not. That connection totally transforms it, and then we have community, and then we start to move into that social connected space where we can share our emotions, where we can share our ideas, and there's not this competition for space. So the point is that whatever aspects that you have to develop are likely the aspects that you're going to judge in other people until you develop them. You know, same thing could be said if, for example, you know, you're going to think that spiritual people who are incredible spiritual gifts are crazy, because from a perspective of the real world we're taught and the practical grounded sides of ourselves, we look at somebody who's channeling or someone who is, I don't know, doing qigong in a park or meditating, and to the average person that looks crazy, because there's a part of them that's afraid of accepting that's a part of humanity as well. And it's easier to push it away rather than to ask the questions, wow, have I ever gotten in touch with that spiritual side of myself? Have I ever developed a spiritual practice that will allow me to move beyond my ordinary states of consciousness and experience something greater, something inexplicable, to tap into other forms of intelligence? So that's another bit about what we're going to be going through.
Yeah, thank you. And one of the things that we'll share as you go through the courses, you're going to see that we at least give you an overarching framing that there are sort of a masculine tint to certain archetypes and a feminine tint to certain archetypes. For example, when we open the Ring 1 courses, there are 3 of the courses, the Warrior, the Wizard, and the Ambassador, which if you earn complete those 3 courses, you will earn basically the Yang Trine badge for Ring 1. Similarly, if you go through the Weaver and Healer and Starwalker courses, then you'll earn the Yin Trine badge for Ring 1. And the reason that I bring that up is because, you know, understanding some of the kind of energetic fields that bring you in to certain archetypes is important. For me, in engaging the warrior and myself, a lot of it was a reflection on death. For me to face my deepest fears, I had to really reflect on my fear of death and my fear of actually losing physically my human body. And early on, a lot of the physical training and development that I did as a kid was just for fun and for play. I did martial arts all the time from the time I was about four years old. And then one of the ways that those skills and abilities expressed themselves was through skiing for me. So I became an extreme skier, and I would jump off cliffs and fly down through powdery couloirs, and I would go for the steepest, most intense slopes that I possibly could, and hit them as fast and as hard as I could, till I was at the point where I felt like if I made one little mistake, I could die. And at that edge, which, you know, anybody who's a skydiver or extreme sport enthusiast like myself, like Nassim Haramein as well, actually, will know that there's a point right there where you know that if you make a mistake, you can die, that you fully feel physically the strength of your life force. You feel your physical power, your physical strength, and it's just unbreakable. It's unshakable. It's just like you just trust your body. And that's a powerful awakening experience to have inside your body. And I don't recommend, going and doing things that could kill you to everyone. It took me many, many years to develop the skiing ability to be able to challenge myself in that way. But even the samurai back in ancient Japan had a regular practice of reflecting on death and dying, like imagining themselves dying 100 different ways, being killed 100 different ways, and just sitting there and thinking about dying in each of those ways and meditating and reflecting on that. And by the end of the meditation, the experience that emerges from that, um, well, you should try it. I'll leave it to you to find out what happens when you do that meditation. But I found that it was very beneficial, especially for me in periods of time like high school and college, where you're just like constantly dealing with the intensity of people at parties and fights and broken glass and just craziness. Um, and we'll also be, deeply diving into and welcoming into the Guardian Alliance a lot of what I call more yin teachings. The Weaver teachings, Healer teachings, Starwalker teachings, and even the balancing energy teachings in each of the Yang courses is all about developing a deeper level of awareness and a deeper level of sensitivity. It's about learning how to feel and receive what's going on in the energy and the space around you, translating the different aspects of what you're taking in, and actually anchoring and flowing with the process of the energy so that you can allow it to move through you and not short circuit. In the practice of different healing arts, Reiki, for example, the bigger your ground, the stronger your ground, the more current you can allow to flow through your body. And that simple principle, which is an electrical principle, is one that you'll find becomes extremely valuable in all the practices that we share in the Academy. So from this state, it's about 2:30. We have a couple of techniques that we'd like to share, and perhaps we can go ahead and dive into that. I also want to just mention that if any of you have questions that you would like to post on the board, we are keeping an eye on the discussion going on the page. So if any of you have any questions coming up, please feel free to post them, and we'll address them as we move forward a little bit later in the course. Alex, is there anything else you'd like to share on the archetypes and before we dive into techniques, or you can transition it if you like?
I think the one other thing with the archetypes is that just know that there are inherent strengths as well as inherent things that are underdeveloped, and that starting at the strengths is a lot of what we're going to focus on. So think of Guardian Alliance like a six floor gymnasium, and every floor of this gymnasium has a different set of knowledge and tools and skills, which are pretty much completely different from every other floor. And on some floors, you're going to be really comfortable and be like, I got this. In fact, I might not even this is easy for me. And some floors, you're going to be like, where am I? What is this? And it's going to be a totally difficult experience, perhaps at first, as you get comfortable with exploring another aspect of yourself. So just know that we're going to start out with focusing on where you're strong already, because that's where you develop the confidence and the methodology for moving through those other challenges as you develop. So that's just what I wanted to say about that. And yeah, if we want to move forward into techniques, I'll be ready for that too.
Right on. Yeah, let's take a break from the chat around archetypes, and we can come back to that. There might be some more questions. But yeah, let's go ahead and do a brief practice here together, and I think that'll sort of help drop us in a little bit deeper, connect us in and anchor us, and then after I share this practice, Alex, maybe you can share some insights as well.
Yeah.
So one of the earliest sort of awakening experiences that I had when I was 15, it was actually the trigger for pretty much every awakening to follow in my life began with this practice. And the way that came about was that I was in a state where I was really super dissatisfied with what I was being taught in school, with the answers that I was being shown, the descriptions of reality that I was being told. I had so many questions as a teenager, and to be honest, there were not many very good answers. And as I'll share in the intro course, I felt like that everybody was lying to me. and and I had a friend at that time, a wonderful brother of mine, still one of my best friends and co-founder of Access Granted with me back in 2003. And this gentleman and I basically used to sit and philosophize and talk about how is it that you feel when somebody's looking at you? How do you think of somebody and then they call on the phone? How does super advanced level martial arts work? Like, how does somebody with tiny little body frame get immense power in their movements and their actions? Like, what are these things? And what is there? What's inherent? What's missing from what we're being taught and what we're being shown? And what we did after a series of different experiments, mostly beginning with starting to just try to see if we could feel each other's eyes, like feel your eyes on your own hand. The practice evolved into a simple one, which is this, which many of you probably have done before. But you basically put your fingers together like this in front of you and just lightly touch them together. And just feel the contact in your fingertips. And just from that sensation of contact that you have, I want you to just relax your arms, relax your shoulders, relax your elbows, and start to relax your hands. And as you relax your hands, slowly separate them. And with your eyes, just stay focused on that space between your fingertips. And just relax and let the space open up until you have, maybe 6 inches between your fingers. And once you have that space there between your fingers, just hold your fingers real still and just try feeling what it feels like to bounce your fingers in and out just a little bit. Notice the sensation inside your fingers and on your fingertips. Notice how the sensation on your fingertips is quite a bit different than it was before we started doing this. You may also want to bounce them up and down a little bit and really look at that space. Find something like a dark background and just look at that space. Open and close your fingers and see if you see anything there between your fingers. Bring your fingers in close together. Notice the change in sensation as your fingers get close, but not touching. And try moving them out further, all the way out till they're a couple feet apart. And notice if you still feel that sensation on your fingertips. And try wiggling your fingers up and down. When you're ready, go ahead and bring your fingers back in and close them into your whole palms and your hands. And now let's do it with our whole hand. So just relaxing the center of your palm, relaxing your hands, letting them naturally spread apart. And go ahead and focus on that space right in the middle of your hands. Take a deep breath and let your hands open up. Once you have a little bit of space in your hand, now try wiggling your whole hands in and out. Try expanding them out further and bringing them back in. Notice if you see anything around your hands or inside your hands. You can bring your hands back in, close them. You can just touch your knees if your feet are on the ground, or reach down and touch the ground, and that'll help discharge. Alex, would you like to share anything of your experience of that?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing too is that to pay attention to what your mental talk is while you're doing the experience, right? Is there a part of the more open you are to seeing energy or to experiencing energy, is the easier it's going to be for you. So if there's that voice that's like, this is stupid, what are we doing? That will get in the way of the possibility. Because what everything is exists in that field of possibility. So if the more open you can be to it, the stronger you're going to feel those sensations. For me, when I'm doing this, it's as if I can feel the energy projected out from my fingers going into my fingers on the other side. So as I push in, I feel sensations that go back around here, and as I pull, it goes out. So it's a fun little exercise. It's funny how strong it is right now, though. It's normally not as strong as I'm feeling it in this moment.
It's always stronger on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. David Beaudry, who I wish could have been here with us today, but was not able to make it. David leads Qigong trainings for thousands of people sometimes. And in these Qigong trainings, when everybody's doing work with their charge and their energy fields together, the feeling is just so immensely massive in the crowd. It's just like hugely intense rippling waves going out through the crowd, and it's pretty powerful experience. And I can feel it even with just the people that are here practicing with us, and I can just kind of sense that collective field that we're creating there. I just want to make a comment about one of the posts on the wall here after completing that. But before I do, I'll just say that when I first did that experience, I didn't know what the heck was going on. I was like, what is that? How do I feel all that intense tingling? How do I feel this vibration in my fingers? And like, how does that stay even when my hands are way out here like this? Like, what is that? And as I did it, I actually started to see the charge. I started to see the flow of this current and these waves of current between my fingers. It looked like heat does over a sidewalk, like a smoky sort of sparkling current with these little bright flashes on occasion. And I had no idea what that was. I was like, wait a second, what is this? Like, hold on, this is not in the science books. I have not been taught this. Where did this come from? And the feeling was like feeling like Luke Skywalker or something, just discovering the Force. Like, oh my God, like, what? Like, you could do this? Like, this is crazy. Like, yeah, I want to be a Jedi. Like, what the part of you that wakes up to it is the part of you that knows that there's an inherent entire field of truth that's hidden in that experience right there. And that if you can access that experience, you can open up so many doors in your life and in this world that have been closed, and have been closed actually quite purposefully and quite intently by certain groups on the planet. And so I want to just address a comment that's on the live session board here. A gentleman named Sean seems to ask, why should we believe in anything, and are we all joining in this grand form of psychosis? I'm disappointed, he says, and I'm just questioning. Well, it's good to say, what's with you crazy guys, and what am I even doing here, and why am I sitting here listening to this guy who seems to be some kind of pseudo-spiritual scientist person that, like, you might have a ton of labels, and that's all right. I'm not surprised, because in this society and in this world, we are taught to label each other first to be able to protect ourselves from certain things, and we're also taught to immediately put certain labels on certain ideas, especially ideas that are what I would say highly transformative for the planet. You see, the truth is that there's been a sort of agenda in the media of the world and in what has been published and in the academic establishments of the world. And if you get behind that agenda, you see that the people that have crafted a lot of what we currently think of as our belief system, our modern day American belief system, our modern day Western civilization belief system, has been sort of a carefully architected psychosis, as you so eloquently put it, that actually just simply refuses to look at one fundamental principle and truth about reality, which has been known for thousands and thousands of years by different cultures around the world. It's known by almost every indigenous culture. It's recorded in every ancient civilization. It is the foundation for most of modern philosophy. And this truth is that there is an ether. There is an energy field that we are a part of, that is in our bodies, that extends from our bodies, that surrounds us. And if you want to get modern scientific about it, all we're talking about is the fabric of space. We're talking about the vacuum, the quantum vacuum fluctuations in ourselves and in the space around us. And we are discovering now that because of the way the quantum vacuum fluctuations work and at the scale that they're at, which is the Planck scale, which is extremely small, way smaller than atoms, way smaller than protons and neutrons, at the scale of the Planck, we don't have any devices that can actually record and look at that yet. The closest we've gotten is measuring gravity waves. That's the closest we've gotten to actually seeing what's going on at this super subtle level, and measuring gravity waves is happening at massive cosmological scales. But the subtle fluctuations of energy that are going around us are so dense and so potent that when scientists first discovered the density of this energy that's inside of us and around us, they calculated that there was so much mass and so much energy that should be in each point in space-time that they thought that the answer was completely ludicrous. It became the vacuum catastrophe. And the idea that the calculation they came up with was that basically if you fit all of the visible universe into a cubic centimeter of space, you don't even get close to how dense the energy field is in the fabric of space itself. Now, if you're thinking I'm talking out my whatever, feel free to go look up online on Wikipedia, look up vacuum catastrophe, look up quantum vacuum fluctuations, take a look at the history of the ether. You'll find Einstein himself talking about the fact that general relativity literally could not exist without the ether. It requires the fabric of space to be an energized fabric. Now, even if we put all of that aside, even if we forget all that new scientific stuff, and we just come to the simple awareness of what most of us are taught in school, and that's that things are magnetic and things are electrical. When you rub your feet on the carpet and you reach over and you go to touch something, you get zapped. Static electricity. Try looking up what static electricity is. See if you can find and really understand what static electricity is and what the research is around that. That's a fun one. And we know if you look out through infrared goggles, you can see my heat field that extends way out here. I've got all kinds of layers of electromagnetic frequencies propagating from my body. You can measure my brainwave frequencies from across the room. My heart frequencies, you can pick up the beat and the wave of those from up to 50 yards away. Heart frequencies have been measured. So if you think that we end here at the surface of our skin, then you should actually do some exploration and some study, because it's not true. Because we are an energetic field. We are a being deeply interwoven with the space around us. And it's important for us to start to understand that in order for us to start to understand where we can go and what our true potential is as living physical beings. Any comments, Alex?
Yeah, I think that's you. I mean, I can't, Adam. You do such a good job of explaining it and tying in the science to it. But it's really, yeah, it's a difficult leap to make in the model of the world that we have, because we're going off of this like everything is just a bunch of little atoms in Newtonian physics, to we're in these energy fields that are complicated and that our consciousness affects and that are affected by consciousness. And it's just like a whole different, it's literally like, it's not even like going from the world is flat to the world is round. It's like going from the world is round to like 4 dimensions or 5 dimensions. It's difficult to wrap your mind around. And we become so limitless at that level as well. Like, it really argues for our potential, and everything you hear people talking about, our ability to create reality, our ability to accomplish these incredible things, becomes a little bit more understandable when you bend the rules, and the rules become more about energy and consciousness, right? I mean, again, just to tie this into another arena, but because your consciousness is going to affect the energies around you, right? And other people's consciousness respond. You know, this applies to everything from sales. When you get on a phone call, what is your energy doing, and how is someone going to respond to you in sales? To when you're out at a bar, how members of the opposite sex see you when you walk in the room. It applies to almost every single aspect of our lives, and we start to take consciousness itself and realize that it's a field which is going to ripple with every other consciousness. And so it's an exciting time. And you know, I think, Adam, we can tie this into one other big point about what is Guardian Alliance and where is it going. And I think part of the vision we've really shared is that we want to create a community of beings who are pushing the boundaries of consciousness, beings of a large group of people who are all working on our spiritual gifts and our practical ones and how they interlock. We're combining knowledge from the more esoteric and scientific and spiritual worlds with how do we apply this in the real world? How do we make use of this for the benefit of the planet? How can we use this to uplift Earth and basically help people? So that's a lot of the passion, I think, yeah?
Definitely. And, you know, a big part of going on this journey is actually just about accepting that we're all going to have questions. We're all going to come up against edges along the way. And the last thing that I would want anyone to do is to come in and listen to this and just accept everything I say offhand. Because the truth is I've been wrong many times in my life. You know, I've had many challenges. And but the thing is that if you don't pursue the truth yourself, then you're never going to get it. Actually, in some way, refusing to be open to the truth expressed by other people shows us that we in ourselves are refusing some aspect of truth inside of us. That's the feedback loop of the universe in action again. And the beauty is that if we start to just accept and acknowledge that there are other perspectives out there, we may not understand them yet, but there's other perspectives out there, and we start to really look at them, and we look into the depths of them, we start to see where those perspectives come from. We start to actually understand their roots, how they evolved, how they developed, and it can actually be quite an amazing journey when we start to look at history and we start to look at the process of different perspectives that have emerged and grown and fallen away throughout history. I'll mention again the Resonance Academy Delegate Level 1 program, which we just launched before this academy opened up. We did the first pilot program back in the fall, and I wrote the Modern Physics module and a good bit of the Unified Physics module. My colleague Marshall Lefferts wrote modules on thinking differently and how we shift our worldviews in history. Nassim Haramein wrote and edited on a lot of the whole course, writing modules on ancient cultures and implications and applications in the future of new physics and unified physics. And for anybody who's really interested in the physics of energy and the fabric of space and how worldview shifts over time, I encourage you to take that course. There's another round of it coming up in the spring, I think within the next couple months. and I think you can pre-register for that. So I highly encourage you to take that course. And for those of you who are coming over here from that course and from the pilot program, you know, please share with the colleagues here what your experiences have been with that. And I want you to know that this whole program and the Guardian Alliance and what it is and what it represents, in the way that understanding unified physics can kind of help you form a new foundation for your perceptions of reality and how you can engage reality. What the Guardian Alliance will help you do is actually now apply those perceptions to practical actions, applications, and engaging your life from a space where you develop a sense of command, you develop a mastery over how you are living, how you are being in your life. It's not about, you know, going out to the gym and just doing that, you know, once or 3 times a week. It's not about just having this one little moment when you sit and meditate over by your altar, you know, or the time that you take your sword up and you go outside and you flow with your sword forms. It's about the everyday moments of your life. It's about how you cook your food. It's about how you sit down. It's about how you reflect on what your friends tell you. It's about how you interact with your partner, your spouse, your loved ones. It's about what you do in everyday life. It's about your business, your purpose, your creation. Everything is a practice. Everything has inherently skills within it that you can develop to increase your state of mastery. And one of the things that we've found is that in creating a business and creating a product and creating anything that is your purpose in the world, any project that you're setting out to create, creating projects requires you to actually activate skills in different archetypes. And to masterfully create a project, you need to apply energies in all of the archetypes in order to do it in a healthy way, a sustainable way, and in a way that really brings your message forward into the world. And so we'll explore more of that in the first course, and also definitely in Ring 1 as we really dive into some of the different techniques and practices. And speaking of, Alex, you had a technique or some philosophy that you wanted to share today. Do you want to go ahead and do that now?
Yeah, we could do that. I know some people have expressed in the chat board they have time constraints, so I want to be sure we cover everything we need to before we launch into that. So if you want to say anything more about this introductory course, maybe that we've launched first.
Right. Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. So basically, whenever the call is done, which should be basically in the last couple minutes of the call, I'll announce that it's opening. But I'll be unlocking the intro course. It's called Initiation, Finding Your Path. And in the main menu of the Guardian Alliance, you'll see it, basically if you refresh your page, you'll see it. It'll show up as a menu item that just says Initiation. And under that menu item, you know, you can get to the course in the sub-menu or just by clicking on the main menu item. And as you go into the course, there will be little guidance markers along the way. They'll look like a little compass. For those of you that participate in the Resonance Academy, you'll be familiar with this technique that I've used in other courses. And what it does is it just sort of gives you some meta-level perspectives and can help you along the way as you're traveling through the course. So make sure to read those, and you know, as you progress through the different lessons, you know, some of the lessons will have a series of subtopics that you'll need to go through, and when you complete the subtopics, it'll bring you back to the lesson page, and just mark the lesson page complete then, and it'll move on to the next lesson. You can take it at your own pace. You can explore it as fast or as slowly as you want. And next week, at the same time on Tuesday at 2 o'clock, we're going to do another call, and that call is going to be more focused on Q&A. So we'll be answering your questions and exploring topics from the first course, and we'll also be discussing what we're going to next and talking about Ring 1 and the opening of Ring 1. So definitely come and join us for that session, because it's going to be super awesome, and it'll be fun to do some Q&A on this first course and see what you guys think. I want to also just mention, you know, please be patient with the website and with the course. You know, if you run into any bugs or problems, please just send a message to my user account on the site. That's a great way to just make note of it, and in your subject line you can just say bug colon this. It's really helpful because you know, this is just a pilot course for the Guardian Alliance program, and so of course we're still going to be working out the bugs, and it's a baby site, so it's just getting on its feet, and so you guys who are here with us today can really help us shape and improve the quality of the site and the quality of the course by giving us your feedback and having patience with us. So thank you so much. And I'll just also say that, you know, the Gatehouse is the spot where you can get access keys. So next week the Gatehouse will be opening up other access keys for Ring 1, and all you got to do is get those access keys, and then when those courses open, you'll be able to get into any courses that you have access keys for. And I'm sure some of you checked out the trail map. The trail map is basically the progress road that you can earn badges on the site, and when you earn those badges, they'll light up in the trail map. They'll show that you've made that progress, and they'll also go into your profiles. The courtyard's a good place for you to just see who else is on the site and to share. I will probably be loading a mapping system in on the members directory so you guys can see where each other are in the world. And when I do that, there will be a new location field on your profile. But for now, please just set up your profiles, explore. You can change the header image on your profile. If you just roll over it, there will be a little blue button in the upper right, and you can change that image. And if you have any questions about that, you know, or about anything on the site and how to use it, again, feel free to either message me or you can post it actually on the board here for this course, and I'll come back and I'll just be checking in on this board. So thank you guys so much for being here. I'm just so honored and excited to have you and to have your presence with us here today. And this is really it means so much to me, actually, to be here and to have you guys here with me. So thank you and welcome to the Guardian Alliance. Alex?
Yeah. Again, yeah, thank you for being with us. And if any of you have, you know, this is also about opening up for co-creation and for additional ideas, because the idea is that we're going to take a lot of this spiritual information, a lot of the science, and a lot of the psychology, and we're going to integrate it into this educational system that's going to unlock a whole different aspect of how people approach education. So one other thing, I want to respond just to a Q&A that's in the a question someone asked, and it was about how important is it to identify where you already are strong, what archetypes you're already strong in, versus continuing on your overall path of development. Well, I'm going to say two things about that. One, I think you have to trust your intuition because there is a sequence that will make sense for you. For example, you might start out very strong as a warrior, and you've got great physical abilities, and you have a great work ethic, and you're strong, you get your job done, but you notice that your relationships need some healing. Maybe you're not as close with the people that are in your family that you want to be, and maybe that you want to understand the deeper mechanics of healing and how that works on a psychological and on a practical level. The next archetype to explore would make sense to be healer. So that, and there's actually a natural link between those two, but that's there. Like I say, the order will depend on your own sense of where you are in your life, and we're going to be creating a tool that's going to actually help you assess where you are and what archetypes you're strong and weak in. So that's going to be coming out soon as well. But one other thing of why it's so important to figure out exactly where you stand already is that it's actually the lens through which you view your entire life. The archetypes that you are already strong in are the lens through which you make your choices. When you understand this, it's pretty interesting because you'll understand not only yourself but everyone around you at a much higher level. For example, a warrior will go through life and will basically, through the way you look at choices and analyze choices, is going to be, how do I feel inside? Do I have the energy to do something? And if there is, I just naturally want to go out and do. action. Go out there. Let's go out to the. Let's go out. Let's go do this. Let's go hiking. Let's go take this action. Right? Warrior, action oriented. Right? A weaver, for example, is going to be guided a lot by their feelings. Does this feel right in my body? Do I want to see this person? Do I want to go out and do that? The emotions are where they're getting their information from. A wizard is going to build a mental map of their life's priorities, and then using that mental map, navigate their choices. So you get up in the morning, you check in with your mental map, and then you begin to think about, okay, how do I want to proceed? So, and even, let's go even all the way up to the top. That top archetype with the 6th chakra, 7th chakra mastery of Starwalker is going to look at life through intuition. So there's a lot of people who go on intuitions. And basically their feelings and their reads of information, which is not logical information necessarily, but it's information that these people are processing, help guide their life choices, which is why they show up at the right times, at the right places, and they meet the right people exactly when they're supposed to. So wherever you are now is very important to understand, because it clues you into how you're making choices and what you're perceiving as your reality. And then as you explore the other archetypes, you'll be able to see the different orientations of how that can be done. And there's no, Adam, you said this, there's no right or wrong way. There's all different, you could say, styles of Kung Fu of how you're going to live your life. So our goal is to expand your frame so you can see the different styles and choose the ones that you most resonate with, and then over time, yes, eventually you do want to have a balance, I would say, in the long term. But specialization is really important, and that's what people get. That's how people forge careers, is getting really good at one of them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's that piece I wanted to add. Is there anything else that we should cover for this call?
I feel pretty good. If anybody has any questions that they'd like to post on the board, please do it now, and we'll take any questions that you might have. Since you riffed on the perspectives of each of these layers of the archetypes, Alex, I don't want to leave out the healers and ambassadors. So I'll say that the healers in their space coming into life, they're going to be feeling and sensing what's going on a deeper relational level, and what's going on psychologically with the people that are engaging in any experience. Where are these different people coming from? How can I match them? How can I build coherence? How can I improve the well-being of this group of people or within this space in my life? How can I enhance its energy and bring it into a greater state of peace and a greater state of health? And then the ambassadors, of course, are picking apart and listening to each subtle cue in the communications and in the languaging. They're identifying the cultural narrative that's happening in each communication, and then sculpting a story in return, a cultural narrative in return that can help to guide the situation in the direction that they want it to go. And so each person, as Alex was saying, really has strengths and weaknesses in those different areas, in the communication field, interpersonal field, their own mental fields. And so a lot of where we're going to start is about identifying and looking at where are your strengths, and we're going to start there. So we want to start with empowering the places in you that are the strongest already, and then from there we'll start looking at the challenges. We'll start looking at those places where you might be really struggling and really working on yourself, and we're going to bring your gifts together with those places that you're challenged, and to use an ancient magical term, we're going to create alchemy. We're going to alchemically transform your challenges through bringing them together with your strengths. So let's see. We have a couple questions here. For As Zeddy, the first course is totally free. So the course we're opening today, literally it will be open and you can sign up. All you got to do is go to the gatehouse, grab the access key, and then you'll see the course in the menu. So you can just take it. It's not going to cost you anything. We are going to open other courses that are going to cost money, but there will be a range of layers you can get. You can either get You know, for those of you familiar with the Resonance Academy, it's like you could buy a single module or you can buy the whole course. So you don't have to get all the courses in Ring 1. You can just get specific archetypal courses in Ring 1 if you just want to explore those specific areas. And you can take your time and go from one to another. We also will have a scholarship program that will open up next month in March. So, you know, if you have a lot of challenges and you don't want to, or you can't buy the course, you know, we will present some opportunities to get courses that way. Julie, will there be a replay of this call? Absolutely. This will be available as on the initiation live sessions page at least until next week, and then we'll archive it and make it available on the site from then on. And Laura Mikado, will we be including unified physics in a way that we can apply it in our ordinary life? Absolutely. That is what this is all about. So, yes. Yes, we will. And Kai is asking about your practice, Alex.
Oh, Kai wants to know what the practice is going to be.
He wants to know what's up.
So the practice I want to share is less of a practice in a energetic sense like what Adam showed us, and it's more about a mindset with which to engage life. My story, my journey is a lot.
Uh-oh. Looks like we just lost Alex for a minute. Alex, if you can hear me, we lost you for a minute, and when you come back on, I'll just get back on. Let me take a look and see if there's any other notes.
All right, let's see if that works.
Thanks, Judith.
Connection got shut down for a minute. They're trying to block the transmission. So
curing a transmission field.
All right. So thank you. So basically, just very briefly to offer this is more of a mindset that has really helped me, because my journey was starting out as, for me, it was a feeling of tremendous powerlessness and fear. That was my childhood growing up, and feeling like I felt like I was going to be able to change the world somehow. But I looked at myself in my younger years, and I saw all the fears I had. I saw the limitations I had. I didn't get born into, you know, a wealthy family or have the right circumstances or whatever that necessarily put someone on the fast track to success or to influence or any of that. And thank God, because that helps us to work harder to earn it, right? But over time, it was about learning how to face fear. And what I found was, let's just, for example, you know, I always wanted to be someone who was socially connected with a lot of different people in life. I wanted to be in the action, so to speak, but I never was as growing up in high school or any of those things. I was kind of on the fringes, hoping to one day be that person. And what I found is that you need to walk towards your fears deliberately, and not necessarily run at them or try and fight them, nor run away from them. So you're familiar with fight or flight. That's the state of mind we get into when our ancient mammalian reptilian brains are triggered and we feel like we're confronted with something, and we shut down. Our higher reasoning, our higher consciousness shuts down, and it's fight or flight. We go into survival. And when we have for certain things we want to do in life, whether it's starting a business or speaking in front of people or approaching that beautiful girl that you want to talk to, it could be anything, but that fight or flight brain will kick in. And what I found is that through my practice was continually going towards my fears at a deliberate but slow pace. So I didn't jump right in necessarily. For example, when I was learning how to do live shows, I just got done coming back from Europe. I had a band. We toured. Most recently, we played some big live shows for 1,500, 2,000 people. And I started out a year or two ago never having played a show like that and wanting to, but not knowing how to begin. And basically, my strategy that I encourage all of you to apply is to walk towards your fears, walk towards your goals, and basically one step at a time put the pieces together. So the first thing I did was that I built the band, right? And we had the band and we start practicing. And you start out with just doing your little bar gig here and there. You start to gain the confidence, then you level it up, you go to a 500 person gig, and you essentially are going to have problems, you're going to have obstacles. You have to just continually approach that ultimate goal and never flinch when it seems like you're having a failure, since failure is not really failure. Failure is just learning. So in that same methodology, we're going to try and teach about, there's going to be levels to within what we're teaching here. So that at the higher levels, you've got mastery over these archetypes. And when you're just starting out, you're just getting your foot in the pool. So again, just to recap, whatever it is that you're afraid of, whatever it is that you want to do with your life, walk towards it at a deliberate pace. Don't run away, and don't charge it, because when you charge it, it'll create other complications, because you oftentimes get too far ahead of yourself, and then I see a lot of people burn out that way. So that's my a technique that you can apply to go after your dreams and manifest them, since that's what we're all pretty much here to do.
Oh, thank you, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It's been an amazing session, and I'm really just so happy to have had this experience with you guys, and I'm excited to see you next week. Please feel free to share the links to the intro course and to the site with your friends. You know, bring people in that you feel like could really use this information and could really benefit from developing these practices. This video, like I said, will also be archived on this page, so you can check it out again if you missed the beginning of it. And highly encourage you guys to do that and to share this and to connect with each other on the site and to connect with us. And we look forward to co-creating this adventure with you. So thank you so much for being here with us today, and I'm really honored. And much love, aloha ke akua, blessed be in Lakesh, Wopila.